So this is the DJI Mavic 3 Pro. It's the latest in DJI's Mavic line, and it now includes 3 different camera systems on the front of the drone for the ultimate in storytelling control. And it begs the question, is this going to be the holy grail of content creator or independent filmmaker drones? I kind of think it is. Alright guys, for those that are new to the channel, my name's Trent. I've been an unmanned pilot in the film industry since early 2010, and that's afforded me the ability to witness as this industry, the camera drone industry, has evolved. And it's kind of culminated with exactly this super feature rich and honestly kind of mind-blowing device that is the Mavic 3 Pro. Now, DJI sent me this a few weeks ago, and I was able to take it on a week-and-a-half adventure I went on through all of Baja, Mexico, and I was really able to put this thing through its paces, so I wanted to share with you guys my thoughts on it. And as full disclosure with you guys, DJI did send me the Mavic 3 Pro, however, they're not paying me, they're not telling me what I have to say in this video, and they have no editorial control, so this is my honest opinions and thoughts on the Mavic 3 Pro. So obviously the big news on the Mavic 3 Pro is that it now has 3 cameras on the front of it, a wide, medium, and tele. Now, up until now, almost universally, all camera drones have had one thing in common, that they shoot on a very wide lens. So you really had a couple options. You had the option of shooting high and wide or low and wide, or low and close and wide. But at the end of the day, you always had a wide angle field of view. The only way to get away from this was to either zoom in digitally on the image, which would sacrifice quality, or you would have to step up to something like the DJI Inspire line that has interchangeable lenses. Which there's nothing wrong with the Inspire line. I love the Inspire, we use it for work all the time. It's just in a different class when it comes to price, size, and portability. Now, being stuck to the wide angle is all changed thanks to the Mavic 3 Pro and having 3 different cameras on it. Now, to really simplify this, the 3 different cameras essentially have 3 different uses. You've got your wide angle for your landscape shots, your big establishing high-wide shots. You've got the medium camera for placing a subject in a landscape. And then you've got the tele camera for focusing on subjects and even being able to get the expressions on subjects, which is totally new to these size of drones. But more importantly than just those 3 overall basic uses for the cameras, it gives you more control. Because after all, these are just tools for visual storytelling. One of the things we have control over now is compression. Now, on a telephoto lens, you're able to compress the background to make your subject look closer to the background. I'll give you an example here. This boat I shot on all 3 cameras in relatively the same size of the frame, but notice as we go into the more long lens or the more telephoto lenses, how much more the background compresses. Another thing we now have more control of is parallax, and I know people have probably heard this term tossed around a bunch, but parallax is basically the separation of a subject from the background by differing speeds of the background and the subject. You see this in those revolve shots. I mean, Michael Bay has been a fan of that forever, but now with a longer focal length, if you're doing any sort of move, whether it is revolving or just a plain old dolly or truck shot, you've got the separated planes to create a parallax shift that is much more prominent on long lenses than it is on wide lenses. Now, I can't emphasize strongly enough how much of a game changer this is for a drone this size to have 3 different cameras. I mean, like I said, prior to this, you'd have to have something like the Inspire, and to change lenses, you still have to land, power off the unit, change the lens, take back off, the whole 9. Now we can just do it with a push of the button in the air. Outside of the 3 cameras on the front of this thing, it's still the same great Mavic 3 that we've had from before. It still has awesome 43-minute flight times, 15-kilometer range, and omnidirectional obstacle avoidance. Now, one thing I should mention is that there will be 2 versions of this, both the standard Mavic 3 Pro as well as the Mavic 3 Pro Cine. And very similarly to the Mavic 3 Cine, the Pro Cine is going to allow for you to shoot in the ProRes codec, which is gonna have a much higher bit rate and be able to process a lot more data through. And it does record internally onto a 1 terabyte SSD, which this does not have. Now, one little caveat with the non-Cine version, at least in mine, I'm able to shoot in their new D-Log-M in either the wide or medium cameras, but I'm not able to get into it in the Tele camera. So what that means is I end up shooting without D-Log across all my cameras because I want them to match, and it's a little tricky to match the D-Log to the normal on the Tele if you're shooting in D-Log on the other 2 cameras. So if you're someone that likes to kind of push your footage pretty far and gets really into color grading, the Cine is probably gonna be a worthwhile upgrade this time around. Now, I did just get a note on pricing, and it looks like the Mavic 3 Pro with the standard RC, which is gonna be the base model of this, is gonna start at $2,200. The next step up is gonna be the Fly More combo that's gonna cost $3,000, or you can get the combo with the RC Pro, which is what I have here, which I'm a huge fan of. I hate having to pull out my phone and open the app and keep everything updated. That combo is going to be $3,900, and it costs an extra $800 to go to the Cine, which puts you at a whopping $4,800, which actually is less than I paid for my Mavic 3 Cine. So when I kind of put that into perspective, you know, I actually thought it was going to cost more than it does. So, you know, I'm pretty impressed. So with all the technical and all the pricing info aside, I want to just get down to my thoughts and feelings on this thing. And if I'm fully honest, I've been super impressed with it. Like I said, I loved my Mavic 3 Cine. I've used it a ton, and it's always impressed me. And I swear, and maybe it's in my head, that's something they did when they designed the Mavic 3. They changed the flying characteristics or the handling characteristics of it, and it always seems like it's easier to shoot and nail shots with versus any of the other DJI drones that I've flown. That's including the Inspire 2. I've yet to fly the Inspire 3. But the way that this thing flies and having the ability to change focal lengths on the fly in the air is an invaluable tool for storytelling. It absolutely changes the way that you look at shooting things, whether it's a subject or a landscape or whatever it is you're trying to shoot. It gives you so much more freedom to shoot it in the way that you want. I found myself kind of falling in love with the 3x zoom. That's kind of like where I default to on the Mavic 3 Pro, just because it gives a really nice balance of controllability as well as compression. So I can still get in nice and close on whatever the subject is, compress the background a little bit, but I'm not losing them too much. Once you go to the 7x, which is the 166 mil equivalent, it's a bit more of a handful to be able to fly the drone as well as, you know, point the camera at the same time. Obviously, with the more professional setups like the Inspire, there's a separation of command that you can have a pilot as well as operator. So it's a little trickier on the Mavic 3 Pro to shoot on the super long lens, but one thing I should mention, in the past I've never really been a fan of active track or any of this, you know, assistive shooting modes, but I will say on the Mavic 3 Pro, being able to just highlight over your subject and let the camera, even if you're just in like spotlight mode and you're flying around, letting it automatically track your subject and keep it in frame for you is super handy, and that does work across all 3 cameras. With all that said, I have rambled on for way too long. To wrap this up quickly, I'm a huge fan of the Mavic 3 Pro. Thank you, DJI, for sending this over. I will be putting it to great use. To anyone that is interested, wondering if it's worth the upgrade, I'm probably not going to be the guy to talk you out of it because I really, really am impressed. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one out here. You guys know the drill. Like this video if you do. Subscribe if you haven't. Come be my wingman. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.